And today is the last day of Huntsville Music Month, and I got the opportunity to sit down with a man who was here during the peak of Huntsville's music scene. And according to him, that's the 60s and 70s, and you couldn't walk into a local bar without a killer house band and talented musicians of all races and backgrounds. Jim Richards ran away from his Tennessee home at 14, and now in his 70s, he still loves music, but he started playing to survive.
And I'd get in a cardboard box when it was freezing cold and spend the night in a cardboard box.
With the booming musician scene in the 60s throughout North Alabama, making money as a musician wasn't hard to come by.
Musicians here made money. You could make a living, pay your bills, have a decent life.
Richard says much of that is thanks to the popular bars that once lined Memorial Parkway. And some big names would come sit in, especially those recording in Muscle Shoals.
Muscle Shoals was in a dry county. And so after they would get pretty late in the night, they're tired of recording, tired of playing. If they wanted to go party, they either had to drive to Memphis, which was a pretty long way, or they would come to Huntsville.
Paul McCartney, B.B. King, Ike and Tina, and Aretha Franklin are just a few names Richards dropped. But Richards says after the Civic Center was built, those days faded away. But back then, during the heart of the civil rights movement, Huntsville was one of the few places in the South you could find an integrated band. And Richards says his band at the old Kaleidoscope Club was the first.
My band was the one that broke segregation in the clubs here in Huntsville. Now, it was kind of dangerous back in those days. The cops were always trying to arrest me. They planted drugs on me. They did everything in the world to catch me because I wasn't trying to do anything. I was just trying to have good music and have a good time.
Well, I also spoke with local guitar maker and musician Tom Shepard, who owns T. Shepard Discount Music downtown, and he gave me some insight into his time in the 60s and 70s music scene. You can find out more on our news app or online at wavetv.com.